Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of The Final Verdict. I'm John Dodaro. It is just me for this episode, and this is a very unplanned episode, but I think one that I needed to do. I've seen a good amount of movies so far in the new year, and I have yet to talk about any of them. And this week, Carl and I are going to see a new movie, and we will have a review for that. But I wanted to do a little bit of a catch up episode. It's been a minute since we've even done a final verdict episode. I think the last one we did was for Fallout, catching up on Fallout, but we haven't done a new movie review yet in 2026. And I've had a goal for 2026, and so far I've been staying on it pretty well. I want to see a new movie every single week in 2026. Now, as we get later into the year, the movie that I see doesn't have to be quote unquote new. It would be a 2026 movie. So really I want to see a 2026 movie every single year. That's probably the best way to put it. So later in the year, I'll probably be able to play more catch up than anything. But I've kind of been able to find things, whether it's on streaming or in theaters so far this year. I've already seen one movie in theaters. I've seen two on streaming already. So I plan on seeing two more movies in January this month in theaters. So right now I'm on a pretty good pace, I would say, for new movies in 2026. So technically, by the end of the year, I need to have at least 52 movies because there are 52 movies or 52 weeks in a year. So that's the goal. I'm already at 3. I'll have 5 by the end of the month. So 5 times 12 is 60. So I'm actually over pace right now. So that's the goal. So this episode here is going to be a catch up episode. I'm going to essentially recommend the 3 movies that I have seen because I liked all 3. So this is not going to be a spoiler episode or anything like that. This is just going to be a pure recommendation episode. I'll discuss the 3 movies, if I like them or not like them, which I did like all 3. Maybe not like 9, 10 out of 10, but I like them all. So that's what this episode is mainly going to be, a little catch up in a way. So, like I said, spoiler free. I'm not going to spoil what happened. I'll give grades and all that, but I'm not going to spoil these movies. Carlin has not seen these 3. He will see the 2 streaming movies, he told me, though. But like I said, at the end of the week, we are both watching one in theaters. So stay tuned for that. At the end of the episode, Carlin also made a giant list of movies he wants to see this year, and I'm probably going to see just about all of them as well. So he's going to have way more movies than he saw last year. So shout out to Carlin for that. But the first movie that I saw in 2026 is not the one I'm going to talk about. The first movie I saw in theaters in 2026 is the one I'm going to talk about first because I think this movie should be seen in theaters. I really enjoyed it. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Now, I saw the previous one literally last year, back in the summer, 28 years later, and I only gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was good, but I do think it had a decent amount of flaws in it, so I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. I just rewatched it not long ago. Still had the same problems, I would say. It was a good movie. It definitely was underwhelming for, I think, the anticipation that it had, I would say. So I don't think there was as much hype going into the direct sequel, The Bone Temple. They were literally shot back to back, so this one was going to release pretty quickly, maybe a little too quickly, but The Bone Temple is the direct sequel. So I was hoping I was going to like it more in a way, and the reviews are better for this movie, it seems. It has a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes right now, so it's doing really good with the critics. The audience gave it an 89, so it's verified hot, as Rotten Tomatoes likes to say. But I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I think it's better than the last one. It's very different in a way, too. I mean, it's a different director, first off. You would think back-to-back movies would be the same director, same everything. Really, no. It's a different director. Nia DaCosta directed this one. She's most notably known for The Marvels. She's also done other movies like Candyman. But I didn't know what to expect. And it was very well directed, I would say. And essentially, I don't want to spoil much of 28 Years Later, the previous movie, that much, but it's essentially focusing on two characters that were introduced late into that movie. Like the two characters introduced late in the last movie are the two main characters of this movie. And the main character of the last movie, Spike, the kid, is essentially like an observer in a way. Like if I had one gripe with this movie, it would be like they didn't do a lot with Spike and they focused too much on the two new characters in a way, or the two leads. I should say they're not necessarily new. Dr. Kelson, who's played by Ray Fiennes, and Jimmy, who's played by Jack O'Connell. These two are fantastic in this movie. Essentially, this movie is half of it's Kelson, the other half is Jimmy, and how different the two are in a way with how they are handling life in the infected world of Britain, essentially. And it's a fantastic contrast in a way between the two, and both give incredible performances, especially Ray Fiennes. Jack O'Connell was just recently in Sinners. He was the main villain of Sinners, so I think he has a good taste of villainy in a way. He's really good with his villains, so shout out to him. Just the two of them really carry this movie. It is gross at times. I mean, it's a horror film. There are a few jump scares, and I mean, there's one really disgusting moment. So if you squirm, you will squirm watching this. I squirmed watching this movie. There was one really, really gross scene. It was in the barn, if you know what I'm talking about. But it did really well in that regards. This movie also wasn't too long either, which there are some movies that will be way too long. This one was only 109 minutes, so an hour 49. It went by perfectly, in my opinion. It flew by in the best way possible. The action was good. There wasn't like a lot of action, but it was good when we got it. But it was really just the character building between the two. There's a moment where Jimmy and Kelson have literally just a conversation together, and it was probably one of the most interesting scenes in the whole movie. This one is also one that I really think I need to rewatch as well, because there's a lot of messaging. I mean, I'll just say Jimmy believes in Satan. He's a Satanist in a way, so he is the inverted cross. You should get that from the trailer pretty easily and from the last movie. But I think there was like a lot that I might need to rewatch in a way. So I'm really intrigued to rewatch this movie more than anything. But I definitely recommend it. I mean, January, there's not a lot of great things out in theaters right now. There really aren't. So if you like the last 28 Years Later movie, I would recommend watching this one. Definitely. If you were like, it was iffy in a way, the last one, I would give this one a chance. Definitely. I think the only other criticism I would have, one was Spike. The other one is when you kind of put this movie in the grand scheme of like, this is supposed to be the second part of a trilogy. It kind of feels a little too standalone in a way. Like, not much from the first movies even mentioned in a way. Like, there was a whole baby component in the last movie. Like I said, Spike's kind of an observer in this one. Spike's dad's not even in it. The whole community that Spike lived at is not even mentioned in this movie. So when you put it in the senses of like, this is a trilogy, it doesn't feel connected enough, I would say. But it doesn't hurt the movie as its own thing. So that would be the only other nitpick I would have. I mean, the direction. I honestly preferred like the style of this movie more than the last movie. Like Danny Boyle kind of made the last movie and even the original one, like it's very choppy, grainy. They shot it on iPhones. The cutting and editing was like not my thing personally. So this is a much cleaner movie. I would say more standard, and I appreciated that a little bit more. It's a shame that it's not doing very well initially in the box office. It's probably going to make less than the last movie, which is a shame. It's getting great reviews, so hopefully word of mouth, and even my word of mouth will help it a little bit. So I recommend seeing The Bone Temple. I will give it an 8 out of 10. out of the gate, and really enjoyed it overall. So I recommend seeing it. I mean, if you want to watch the previous one, it's on Netflix, and the other two movies I'm about to talk about are on Netflix. So if you're even like uncertain if you want to watch The Bone Temple, watch 28 Years Later first. You don't need to see the other two, 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. I've personally never even seen them as well. I started watching the first one. The first one, there is a reference to the first movie in this one, but it's just a reference. You don't need to know everything that happened, but I think you'll be inclined to watch the first one again after you've seen The Bone Temple. So, watch 28 Years Later if you are unsure about The Bone Temple, but I highly recommend watching 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. The second movie that I saw, and this one was technically the first movie I saw in 2026. It was the first film that I recorded on my Letterboxd, for what it's worth. You could follow me, John Dodaro, on Letterboxd. I put all my new movies in there. But the first one I saw, I was literally just searching for a new movie to watch for the week. There aren't a lot of options, so I went to my trusty friend Netflix. And on Netflix, I saw the movie called People We Meet on Vacation. And this is something I had no clue about. It is based on a book made in 2021. Never read it, never heard of it, don't even know anything about it, but I just saw it's a rom com and I was like, why not? I knew the one actor, Tom Blythe. He played President Snow in the Hunger Games prequel, so that's all I knew. I also knew one of the other actors from a couple horror movies. That's about it. But I knew really nothing going into this movie. I just needed something to watch for the week, and it was good. I watched it late at night, so it wasn't like I was fully awake, but I was awake for it all. It kept me engaged, which is probably the best thing to say about it. It kept me engaged. It's 118 minutes, so just under 2 hours. So it wasn't too long, but it did feel a little maybe too long. This could have easily been like a 90-minute movie. Maybe it was a little too long, but it wasn't a hard watch, I would say. It's about two characters. One is named Alex and one is named Poppy. Alex is an introvert, essentially, and Poppy is an extrovert. Poppy talks and talks and talks and never not talks. Alex doesn't like to talk really all that much. He has no riz in a way. He has no riz. And then he starts to open up as the movie goes on to the point where he has really great dance moves out of nowhere. So give him credit there. And it was fun for what it was. Now, I can't criticize too much because it is based on the book. And if it is very truthful to the book in terms of how its narrative structure is, I can't critique like the director or anything like that. I would more be just critiquing the book more than anything. So if I say certain things here, I'm critiquing the book more than anything. Its format was a little weird because it's mainly like there's present day, there's like a wedding happening, but then like all throughout the movie, it's different flashbacks. So it's like when they met, one vacation that they did, another vacation that they did. There were like four, maybe something like that. So it's really a movie with almost all of it being flashbacks until you get to present day, where things get juicy. But a lot of it is flashbacks, so that could be a little distracting, I would say. Maybe I would have preferred like a straight line narrative personally, but then again, I'm not a book fan. So, I mean, if you read the book and you liked it how it was written, sure thing. I might have preferred more of a straight narrative for this kind of story. Because also, too, like the time jump, I think they go all the way, like, here's the present, and then it's like 9 years prior is when they met at Boston College. And they look like they don't age at all in those 9 years. Like 9 years is so drastic from where they are now to when they were back then. Like they don't look any different. So I don't know. I guess I'm critiquing the writing of the book more than anything. So there's that. But it was fun. I mean, it's a feel good movie once you get to the end of it. I won't spoil what happens, but there's some twists and turns that keep you engaged throughout. It's like, will they get together? Will they not get together? Will they be friends? Will they not be friends? Will they hate each other? Will they love each other? It progresses well in a way. The two leads are really good in this. They carry their characters pretty well. There were some cringy moments here and there. I had to sit through the cringe, but it had a lot of heartfelt moments. It's a good streaming movie. It's not one I would have went to the theater to ever see. So I guess that's good when you have some good streaming movies out there to watch when you need to kill 2 hours. This would define that, I would say. If you're a fan of the book, you might have went to see this in a theater, but this was one that I would safely say watch on streaming, and it is only on streaming. So I would give this movie a 7 out of 10. And I would say watch it on streaming if you are bored and you want to watch a rom com. Only if you want to watch a rom com. There's really no other reason to watch it. If rom coms aren't your thing, then you probably won't care for it. But I think it was a good one. I don't watch many rom coms in general, so it's not like my thing. But it is amusing. I kind of like those relationship stories in a way. It was well acted. They did have some funny comedy here and there, so it was a good movie. I wouldn't call it great or anything. It was good. It kept me satisfied by the end, though I do have to criticize Tom Blythe, his running form. Alex, that's the character he plays. Alex's running form as a former cross country and track runner. I was bothered by his running form. He's like swaying his arms like almost like to himself, like he's punching himself nearly. His running form really pissed me off. Tom, learn the form because he supposedly goes on runs every morning in this movie and he needs coached a little bit. That bothered me more than anything in this whole movie was his running form. So fix that, please. Please fix that. The final movie that we will discuss, though, here. Only one more. Therip. This is another Netflix film. Literally only on Netflix. You would think that a movie like this would be in theaters and would at least be in theaters for like a couple weeks because it stars Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I mean, literally, Tiana Taylor just got a Golden Globe for what it's worth. Stephen Ewan, Kyle Chandler, like bunch of noticeable names. Even the Supergirl from the Flash movie that just came out was in this movie. And nope, it's a straight streaming movie. It's called The Rip, directed by Joan Carnahan. I don't think I'm familiar with his work that much. Kind of unfortunate. But so this is my introduction to him. I'm looking at it. Bad Boys for Life. I don't know if I saw that or not. I think I did. Maybe. Yeah, I did see Bad Boys for Life, so I did see something of his. So standard action. I haven't seen much else. This was another good film. Now, this film, it's an action thriller film. It's more of a mystery in a way. It's a situation. It's in Miami. It's a police force, and there's the team with Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and the other talented actors as well make up this police unit. They investigate a house. It's a raid of a stash house. And then it's eventually revealed, I won't spoil much, but it's like there's a lot of cash in this house. And then each member starts to look like distrustful in a way. Like you can't trust all of these characters. And it's almost like a mystery movie as to like who's innocent and who's guilty here. Like what's really happening in this situation. And for that aspect, I actually really enjoyed this movie. Mainly because it paid off well. I think the reveal, quote unquote, reveal was nice. And it kind of makes me appreciate the earlier parts of the movie a little bit more because it is revealed in a way that's pretty nice. Like, I kind of wish I knew the premise of this movie a little bit more going into it because I thought this was just going to be like bang, bang action scene at the beginning, middle, end, like crazy action. And there is. But I mean, that's not really the focus of this movie that much. The action's more of like a back layer to it. It's really just like who's responsible for this and all of that. Like Matt Damon's character is looking sus at times, Ben Affleck's character is looking sus at times. So then you're genuinely thinking like, oh my god, like is he the bad guy? Or is Supergirl the bad girl? Tiana Taylor, is she the bad girl? Like Kyle Chandler, he's here, is he the bad guy? Like you get those vibes throughout the whole movie and you don't know really what's going on. And one of those things I might have just said might actually happen. I'm not going to spoil it though. So for that aspect, I did appreciate this movie a little bit. Now, it's not the most memorable movie. I think when I do my top 10 later in the year, I'm probably not going to consider this movie at all, really. This will probably be one that gets overlooked in a way. I mean, for its action, it's nothing crazy. There's like a shootout scene that isn't really that believable in a way. Like they probably should have been dead, but they weren't. It had some comedic moments. Can't really remember, but I like the tension of this movie. It was a good result at the end. I don't want to say much more about it to keep the mystery alive. But it was a good movie. It's not one that I think you watch and you're like, holy crap, this movie is incredible. Like Matt Damon's best performance or anything. Like you're not going to get any vibe like that. You're going to walk out of it and you'll be like, that was fun. In a way, if you've been paying attention throughout the whole movie. You'll just be like, that was fun. In a way, good movie, nice little twist. Straight to streaming. I probably would have saw it in theaters maybe if it was. It seemed interesting enough, but thanks Netflix for putting it on streaming. So I appreciate that. But I would recommend it. I would give it a 7 out of 10 though. I wouldn't give it anything higher than a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's not any higher than that. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is the best movie I've seen in January so far. Not really a debate right there, in my opinion. So those are the 3 movies I would recommend. 2 of them are on streaming, so if you don't like going to the theater for some reason, you can watch those 2 on streaming. And you could even watch the first 28 Years Later movie on streaming as well, if you want to get a taste of The Bone Temple in a way, if you think that might be for you or not. You could do that. So that's my recommendation. This wasn't going to be too long. The movie that Carlin and I are going to see this week is called Mercy. It stars Chris Pratt. Rebecca Ferguson is an AI woman, and Chris Pratt is trying to prove his innocence. We are going to see that either Thursday or Friday. We'll review it probably the next day, so it'll be out the next day. I am not that excited for it after learning that the director of this movie also produced War of the Worlds. It's one of those, like, it seems to be like a screen film in a way. Screen, not scream. It's like where a lot of what's happening is on a screen. Like if you know the Unfriended movie that I saw before, like it's all on a laptop. It's like the camera that you would see on a FaceTime is the actor, kind of like me recording right now. That's kind of the style of movie I think we're getting here. And I feel like there's a way this movie could be really interesting if they do it right. And I'll say in my review if they do it right or not. But I'm not that excited in terms of like, I don't think it's going to be that great. Maybe it'll surprise me. I don't know. It's in theaters. It's only in theaters. So I have low hopes. My expectations are low, but anything could happen. Really. Shout out to Netflix if it is true though. I heard one thing saying that if they acquire Warner Brothers, that they would keep movies in theaters for like 45 days before putting it on streaming. If that's the case, I actually really like that because I think at least nowadays it's like after a month, I would say a movie doesn't really need to be in theaters anymore. Like I don't know how many people are going to see it. Most movies like after a month in a way, 45 days most. So it's like I don't think movies need to be like 3 months in theaters, or I think it should be 2 months maximum, month and a half before a movie goes on streaming. I think that kind of works right in a way. So if that's the case, I would actually support that in a way. I think 45 days is enough because it's like if you wanted to see the movie in theaters, that's enough time in a way. Because there'll be Marvel movies where it's like Thunderbolts. I saw it twice in theaters, but then I had to wait like 3 whole months plus to see it on streaming. It kind of got annoying, I would say. Those movies aren't cheap, so you'll only see it once, maybe twice in theaters nowadays, a movie. So I kind of like 45 days. So if that's the case, that's pretty cool. Shout out Netflix for doing something right, I would say. Um, but yeah, Mercy, I don't think is a Netflix movie, so that's not really relevant to that. The other movie that I think we plan on seeing, or Carlin wanted to see, is called Iron Lung. It's directed by a YouTuber, so he has interest in that. So I think we'll see that at the end of January, and that'll wrap up January. But we're seeing Mercy this week, so Mercy will be the first official movie review that we do. We are still watching Fallout Season 2. I'm not a biggest fan of the weekly format for this show, mainly because Season 1 came out all at once. But we are enjoying it. It's getting better as it goes along. So we're going to review the new episode ideally this week, too. The new episode drops on Wednesday. That's the only show that we're reviewing on a week-to-week basis right now. I am watching The Pit Season 2 on a week-to-week basis, but that show's not even going to end until like April or something like that. So you got a while for me to review it. I'm not going to review it on a week-to-week basis unless you want me to. But I've been enjoying the show so far. It's been pretty good. I'm going to like create rankings for each episode for The Pit just so I can look back at it. But that's happening weekly as well, not being reviewed on the podcast at the moment. But I'm really liking The Pit Season 2 so far. Wonder Man drops out not this week, but next week. That will be a show that Carlin and I both review next week. So that's the new Marvel TV series. It's all dropping out at once. So that will be the first MCU show that we review for the year. So check out that. And we also thought of one other thing, in a way, a little new thing that we wanted to do for the final verdict. I don't know if it's going to get podcast episodes for everything, but like we watch a lot of TV, but not everything that like we put on our lists in our rankings can go in the rankings. So some of these shows that we watch, like we can't put in our top 10 because they are reality shows or competition shows or stuff like that. So we decided to create a new category, essentially a category that we can rank our favorite reality or competition TV shows. And reality could also mean documentary as well. So kind of like a bonus category in a way, because we're not going to put like, I'm watching Beast Games season 2. I'm not going to put that in like the same rankings that I've Fallout season 2 or the Pit season 2. Like it wouldn't go there. So we created a new category to kind of put those shows in a way. Like when I watch Big Brother in the summer, it would go there. I'm watching The Traitors right now, it would go there. Watching WWE Unreal season 2, it would go there. So as long as it has multiple episodes, it's reality, documentary, competition, stuff like that. And it would probably just be graded simply on like how much did we enjoy it? How much did it work? Did it do a good job for what it is? So that's a new category that we're going to keep track of during the year. I think it'd be a little fun thing to do. Carlin will do that as well. So, and we technically do track our albums as well. Carlin does that more than me. So, we're tracking everything that we watch. Maybe Beast Games gets an episode. I doubt it though, but who knows? But we are watching a lot of things, even if it's not being reviewed on the podcast. I'll try to review a lot more solo stuff when I can. Because I do like talking about things that I've seen. Like, I think it would have been a disservice to not ever talk about the Bone Temple at all. Like, not even one recommendation for it, I think would have been pretty sad for me personally. So I'm happy I was able to do that. So thank you all for listening. to this episode, make sure to follow the social medias, of course, our Instagram, our Twitter, our TikTok, our YouTube. I want to try to get more YouTube stuff, more video stuff sooner than later. I think that's a goal of mine in the new year as well. So we've kind of slacked on that. Time for slacking ends in a way. And I'm going to try not to slack as much in the new year. So follow the social medias. You can hear some of our separate thoughts on things, especially on our TikTok. If we see a movie, you might get our out of theater reaction on the TikTok. So follow that. Find all of our socials in the link tree and the link in bio. But other than that, though, thank you all for listening to this episode. I am John Dodaro. Have a great day, everybody, and see you next time on The Final Verdict.